You know what? I don't care if you're Mother Frickin' Teresa. If you live on your own homestead and you're doing any kind of building projects on your own, eventually you're gonna wanna level something. In this video, I'm gonna talk about 3 different ways of doing that. Using either this tool, which is really, really inexpensive, this tool, which costs a little bit more, or this tool, which costs more than either of these, but makes it really easy. Hey everybody, this is Praxis. Whether you're building a deck, a patio, or even just leveling out some ground, maybe doing some terracing for some gardens, the idea of leveling things, the need to level things at a homestead honestly comes up quite frequently. So in this video, I want to share 3 different methods, 3 different tools that I use for doing that. Let's start with this one right here. I tend to call this a bubble level because it has a bubble right in the middle there. The actual name for these are spirit levels. I don't honestly know why they call them spirit levels, maybe because you know, the bubble, that's not water there. I think that's like alcohol. Another word for alcohol is spirits. Maybe that's why they call it a spirit level. Maybe it has some kind of paranormal origins. I'm not sure what the reason is. People tend to call these spirit levels, though. Not a super expensive device, you know, when I use this all the time. Let's kind of demo kind of a sample project that you might use this for. This deck behind me, I used a bunch of leveling technology when I was putting this together, this tool in particular. Let's say up here, we wanted to make a maybe kind of like a railing or something like that, like a railing that comes across here. And let's use this tool for it. The first thing you'd want to do is to set the height. Let's say you wanted to do a railing at, say, I don't know, maybe like 3 feet. That's a little bit short for a railing, but let's just say 3 feet. So I'm going to make a mark here where it's going to connect at 3 feet. All right, so here's our mark right there at 36 inches or 3 feet. I'm going to put a nail into the wall right there. I own tool belts, but I just never use them. Here's a nail, and I'm putting that in right at 3 feet right there. And from there, I can rest this on here, and then I just look at that middle bubble level right in the middle of the spirits there, and I can move this up and down in order to find out what level. Now, that's not that useful given that this is only like what, like 1.5 feet or so long. If you want to get a bigger span using a tool like this, what you're going to need is a straight edge. This is marked as a straight edge right on it. And the reason I wrote straight edge on the side of this board, even though I've got plenty of boards and lumber all around me, is that not all boards and lumber are always particularly straight. Some of them have what's called a bow or a crown to them. The way to tell whether you have a nice straight piece of wood or something with a bow is to look right down along the edge of it. You know, close one eye and sight right down the end. And if you're looking straight down across the end of it, if it has any kind of a bow or a bend to it, you're gonna see it a lot more easily if you're kind of compressing the distance and looking straight down along it. So if you kind of look straight down along the end there, you can see that that is pretty straight. There's no kind of curve or twist one way or the other. So when I determined that this board was nice and straight, I wrote straight edge on it, and I use this all the time for the purpose I'm about to show you. And what I do with this is I'll combine it with my bubble level, and I'll rest one end on wherever I am wanting to level out, and then I'll put my bubble level right on the top of it. And in this way, I am able to see very easily, like right here is nice and flat and level. But as you can see, this doesn't quite make it all the way over to this other side. If I was doing something shorter, this is going to be just fine. But my straight edge is only so long. Let's say you want something that's you know, kind of longer. It's going to span something that's longer than you have a straight edge for. Another method that you can use for making things straight, where the hell am I going to put this? How about right down there? Another method that you can use uses this little device right here, and this is really, really inexpensive. It's also another kind of bubble level. I think that these are called, like, you know, I'm going to write on the screen what these are called. I use tools all the time and I forget what the names of them are. But this one is very inexpensive and very, very useful because it clips onto a string with these little clips at the top and bottom. So we can take some string and make a little loop on the end of the string, which actually I use a string for that all the time. It already has a loop on it. And I just throw that right over my nail head right there. And I can run this out to any kind of a distance that I want. Let's say I want to have the railing go straight across over here. We're going to make an entire barrier right across this entire area here. I just take my little hook-on bubble level, hook it onto the string, and now I can see when we're flat here. So the bubble's kind of off to the left-hand side. So I'm going to be dropping this down, 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 and now the bubble's pretty much right in the middle right there. So I'll make a mark right here. And now I'm done with my level. And at this point, I've got 2 marks on either side that I know are exactly the same elevation from the core of the earth from each other. So I could make connections right across there. Now those are the methods that I've always tended to use in the past, is one of those or the other. Neither of those tools is particularly expensive, especially those little hook-on string levels. They're very, very inexpensive. I have them in a bunch of my different toolboxes. But I recently was given a different tool by a company to test out. It's a laser level, and while everything I've ever done in the past has never required a laser level, it's a pretty cool tech, and I wanted to share it with you in this video because it does some things really quickly and really easily that can take a lot of time to do using these other methods. Now, these other methods you can totally use, and I've always used them in the past, and they work just fine, but the laser level makes it really, really easy. Okay, popping right into this kit, you can see there's an awful lot here. This is made by ActBot, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, I don't fully understand the need or purpose for all the different items that are in here. I think maybe some of them have to do with different styles of use. Some people might prefer to do things one way, some people may prefer to do things another way, but I'm going to go through all the different things that are in here, and based on your predilections, you would know what you might want to use here. I'm going to get the instruction manual out of here right away so that the auto iris on the camera can stop darkening everything up, because that's in there. I found that the instruction manual was a little bit light. If you don't know how to use this already, you're not going to find all the answers in the instruction manual. I had to go online and figure out some of the how to use this type of tool. This manual kind of tells you the basics of how to turn it on and everything, although glaringly it does not tell you how to charge the batteries in here, and it took me a while to figure out there's no charger that comes with this. There's just this a USB cable which you plug in, and oftentimes when you get a charger like this, it means that you put the battery into the device, and then there's a port on the device that you can use the device as a charger, or there is a port right on the battery itself, and the battery itself plugs in. There was nothing in the manual saying exactly how you charge the battery, so when I was going through here, I picked up one of these batteries, and I forget how I was holding it, but I was holding it, I was holding it over the charging port here. So I was looking at this battery and I could not find a charging port on here, and because the manual didn't say that you plug the batteries in directly, which you do to charge them, I quickly put the battery away, and then I was trying to figure out, well, where's the charging port on here? So if you get this unit, know that the charging port, it's not on the underside, it's actually on the outside of the battery. Oftentimes when there's charging ports on batteries, they're on the protected underside, but this one, it's on the backside. So there are 2 batteries. That's a good thing. I think whenever a kit for something comes with only one battery, that's bad news, because you're always going to run through that battery, and then before you can use your device again, you need to charge the battery up. I think it's nice to always have one battery on the charger and one battery in use so that you never run out of battery power. So we got 2 batteries in here, we got a charger in here. The device itself, this is the unit that generates the lasers. We're going to be using this in a little bit. We've got different support mechanisms. This one here has a couple little tripod legs, and this can screw right onto your device. This is a very simple way of supporting it if you can just put it on like a tabletop or something like that. We also have this, another support device, which has magnetics on it, so you can stick it to the side of something metal. There's a remote control in here. I don't really know why they put a remote control in here. I don't know why you would ever need to use this remotely. Maybe that comes up. I can't fathom why that would ever come up, but they do have a remote control in there. You don't need the remote control to operate it though, and that's always important to me, that you can actually put your fingers and hands on a device and use the device without having to have a remote, because if a remote breaks and you need the remote to operate the device, that's awful. It's awful design, and that they did not do that here. You can operate the device without the remote. An additional for support, we've got this here, which is kind of like a jack sort of thing. So you could put the device on there and kind of slowly jack it up to make adjustments. Again, I've never used a laser level before. I've always just used bubble level. So a lot of this stuff is new to me. I don't really know why you'd have a situation where you'd want to be slowly jacking the thing up, but it's in here, it's an option, and I'm sure that that's something that people who are used to using these and have gotten acclimatized to using lasers for this type of purpose, they would say, oh yeah, that's a super helpful thing. But for me, a bubble level guy, that's something I've yet to learn. We also have this target plate in here, which is something that you can shoot the laser at and kind of get a sense of, you know, your relative offset. So let's take out the basic device and the support, and we'll show you how these work together. First off, these screw together. So I'm gonna mount them together, and we're gonna bring them into a real world environment and see how this thing actually operates. All right, let's just set this down right here to start. Now, I'm gonna be using in this video the horizontal, the flat laser level for most of what I'm doing here, but I do want to mention that there are 3 different axes on here, both the top and the 2 sides, so you can figure out both your verticality in a given space. You can also determine, you know, this direction and this direction, which gives you 3 dimensions of reference, so you can use it to set anything within a 3-dimensional space. But again, for this video, I'm just going to primarily be doing the you know, the vertical kind of leveling, but I did test all the other ones out, and they do work rather nicely. So to get it going right at the beginning, I put the battery in on the bottom, and now we're going to turn it on with this little switch here. This acts to kind of lock all the, I guess they're kind of like little leveling gimbals inside, and it will unlock all those gimbals, and so the lasers can float freely and actually create a level, and also it'll turn them on. I'm going to get my eyeballs out of the area where it's going to zap, and there we go, and you can see a little bit of it on the wall back there. Now we're outdoors, and these types of devices are, you know, they're using light, and when you have a lot of light ambient outdoors, sometimes it can be difficult to see. You can see that it's bright enough over here to see pretty well, but in some of the other areas where it's further away, it is a little bit harder to see, which brings me to this device here. It acts kind of like a reflector when you're driving down the highway and you see little reflectors on the side, they bounce your headlights back at you. This device here makes it so that it's really, really clear to see that laser light. And I'm bouncing it at my eyes right now, so it's really clear to me. I'm just going to look in the camera to make sure, yeah, that you get that effect. That this thing really, really registers that, that laser light. And even if I get significantly far away, like all the way down here, holding this up, I can still very, very clearly see the line on here. So that's what this little reflector card is for, is you can use this outside, like right here. I can kind of barely see it on my hand, but it's clear as day right on this little card here when I hold it. So this thing is super helpful for working outside because it makes the laser level really, really visible. Okay, now it's cool and it's high tech and it's futuristic that we're using lasers instead of just bubbles, but how do you actually utilize this stuff? Well, let's say we wanted to make that same kind of fence right here, although let's say we're going to make it 4 feet instead of 3 feet so I don't cheat off my old marks there. How would we do that using this device? Well, the way you do that is first you want to get your references off of the areas that you're going to be working on. I'm going to use this. Again, this is a really invaluable part of this whole thing, the reflector, because over here I can barely see the laser here, but if I use the reflector, it's clear as day. So I'm going to get a reference mark off there and mark it off on the wood. So we've got a reference mark here, and now I'm going to get a reference mark on here, and I can actually see the laser because I'm close enough. Here I don't need the reflector, so I'm going to make a mark right there. So now I have a mark there, and I've got a mark there that are exactly the same height, and at this point, I can turn that thing's off. We're done with that at this point. It's done its job. It gave me a mark here and a mark here, which are exactly the same distance from the Earth's core. But those heights are not the same heights that I wanted to set my railing at. I want to have my railing at like 4 feet, I was thinking. So let's find 4 feet off the deck right here, which is right here. So this is 4 feet from there. Now, obviously, I've got a nice flat deck that I did a great job on. I could just measure right up off the deck over here and make another 4 foot mark. But let's say I don't have any of that deck over there and I just need to try to figure out something that is the same as this 4 foot height over here. And the only thing I have to reference is the laser level from there and there. So what I need to do here is just figure out the distance between these two. This is 10 and 3/8 inches below the laser mark. So I go over to my old laser mark and I go down 10 3/8 inches, and there we go. Mark there, the height of our railing, all marked off. Super, super fast, super, super easy using the laser. Now, can you do the same thing with the bubble levels? Absolutely. If you were only going to do one project, would it make sense to get a unit like this? Probably not. Just go with the bubble levels. But if you're starting off on kind of a homestead journey, you know, take it from me, it always comes up that there are always kind of leveling projects where you're either, you know, getting something ready for a garden or, you know, clearing an area. When we were doing our chicken coop, you had to get the area all clear and level before I could do any of the brickwork. It's always coming up that you want to know how to level things. And the nice thing about the laser level is that it just throws it everywhere. Instead of having to, like, if we were going to do a large area outside, I think the most reasonable way to do it without a laser level would be to have that little string bubble level. But you'd have to put a stake in, and you got to tie the string to the stake, and then you're stringing that string out, and you're making a mark on, you know, this stake over here, and then you're making a mark on a stake over there, and you're constantly, you know, having to, you know, run the string around everywhere. And honestly, when you have a central place where you are tying off to, you know, I've been in this situation, and it's come up a bunch of times where, you know, you'd think one would be enough, and I learned my lesson, but no, it's come up a couple of times where I'll tie off to something, and then because you want that string really, really tight, and there's a limit on how far you can really pull a string, because, you know, gravity's going to make the string slump over some kind of a distance. The laser it's not going to, like, be, well, I guess technically the light photons do kind of respond to gravity a little bit, but nowhere near as much as a string does. You know, you want to put a lot of tension on that string so it's nice and straight. You don't want to have it, the thing slumped. So you're pulling on that central reference mark. And sometimes I've gone through a project and I've been making a bunch of marks, and then I eventually realized that my center mark post has been kind of tugged by me yanking on the string constantly. You know, maybe it goes over a couple of days and you get some, like, wetness in the soil or whatever. You know, things come up. If you're making a ton of different marks, having the laser level really will make it a lot easier. So if you're just starting off, you know, take it from me, there's going to be a lot of projects that are going to come up where you're going to need leveling, and it might make sense to buy something like this at the beginning. For one project, you know, probably not, just go with bubble levels. But if you're going to be doing an awful lot of projects, and if you're running your own homestead, you know, first you build the house, then you build the firewood shed, then you're like, oh, maybe I should have a tool shed off of that, and then you need a chicken coop, and you needed this, and you needed that. You know, there's an awful lot of leveling projects. In fact, right beneath you, there's a whole concrete step that I put in just last year, and there was a bunch of leveling that was involved in that to try to make sure that the step was all nice and smooth. It looks beautiful still. Absolutely beautiful still. I did that with bubble level work, but if I'd had a laser level, it would have made it a lot easier. I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to put a link down in the description below if you'd like to get this particular item or something similar to that, or if you would like to get bubble levels, I'm going to put some links down in the description below to some bubble levels that I've used in the past that have worked really well for me. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hey YouTube preppers, if you enjoyed this video, here's another that I think you might like. But before you click on it, I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They help to support all the work that I do here over at patreon.com. If you'd like to join them and get your name added to the list, the link's below.